Hey there, YouTubers. It's Gus Estacio, and I'm just walking around my property before I go to work here. And I love this time of the year. You can see my trees over here. It's nice, lots of grass. Just I hit over 600 subscribers every time I hit over 100 subscribers. I just want to share something personal about me, about my life here. Every day I live in Maryland, and it's you hear the wind, you hear the trees, the rustling of the trees. Isn't that beautiful? It's awesome. I love where I live, and that's our storage. It's a little fenced off area, playground we don't use anymore because my kids are all grown. Our butterfly bush over there, we get a lot of butterflies every year. Some praying mantises. That's my car. Let you look at our property here. It's the front. Looks like somebody on a go-kart. This tree has lots of flowers on it. There's our rose bush, our recycling bin. This tree right here is great. It's a persimmon tree, and every year it grows persimmons. And I think we have another persimmon tree back here. I wanted to not only just share a little bit about this, but share a little bit about me. And I guess we're going to talk about double standards. Double standards. Because you know what? If people didn't have double standards, they'd have none. That is no standards at all. Look, here goes the little persimmon tree. You can still see the persimmons on here. There's some right here. See that? Look at that one. I don't, for some reason, I don't even, what, we never eat them. They just grow. I guess animals eat them. And we just don't. I think they're sweet. I don't know. I've never really had a persimmon. And in the job I have at my night job, it's in a senior assisted living building, the Koreans give me like a whole case of persimmons every year, and I just wind up giving them away. We get propane gas for our fireplace. But you can see it's beautiful out here. It's really serene. It's quiet. It's a great place to raise children, and we have raised and are raising two wonderful kids. My daughter's in college right now. She's a brilliant engineer. She's 18 years old. She just started college, so she comes here on the weekends. She'll take an Uber to the train station, and she'll come here on the weekend. And she can't wait to come home all the time. Sometimes if she misses like a weekend, she's just she wishes she could come home every weekend. But I really think you got to kick the bird off the nest. But my daughter misses home, and I can't blame her. Look at where she lives. It's beautiful out here. She has it made. My kids are spoiled in a good way. I've raised them in the admonition of the Lord. They don't know what it's like to be in a cult. We've had good talks, me and my daughter, on science, anything. And they have the freedom to believe what they want and to choose what they want to believe, because that's the way it's supposed to be. If you don't believe it from the heart, then what's the point in believing? Yeah, I'm gonna go over to the fence area. So I wanted to talk a little bit about double standards. And I've experienced double standards. I am about as real as you can get. That is, I speak my mind, if you haven't noticed. And if you get a criticism from me, it's from the heart. And if you get a compliment, it's from the heart. Look, our stones you can't even see them anymore. Grass, it's kind of overgrown them. You can see a few here, the stepping stones. But let's see. Look, they're still blossoming. They come every year. The flowers and the butterflies galore, and I've actually trimmed it down, and it's already regrowing. It's amazing how much it's grown, because it will flourish over the house almost. Oh, this is my little fenced-in yard area. So back to the subject about double standards. I've seen double standards amongst Christians. I've seen double standards in the counter-cult ministry. And I see lots and lots of double standards amongst the XJW community. And this is what I mean by double standards, is that we will go around all highfalutin, ready to make judgment and criticize the Watchtower Society, won't we? We'll go out to Warwick, which I did, and we will protest at the headquarters of the Watchtower Society. Look at that. You hear the trees and the swaying. You know, we've had a bunch of trees that have fallen almost near my house. One of them actually hit the house, but it bounced off. You know, it wasn't big enough to really do any damage. And we will go on a tangent. We will say the Watchtower Society is demonic. You know, they got Freemasons, and they push occultists and Freemasons, and shame on them, and bad Watchtower. You know, my daughter, she taught me something, and I'm going in and out, but she taught me something new. Is that a lot of these clovers you see on grass are actually trees growing. And if I didn't cut the grass enough, they'd grow into trees. And here's an example of a tree growing. Yeah, here's one right there. It's all wrapped up in my fence. And there's one underneath. So I literally have to kind of poison the ground down there. I've cut them down, but I have to poison the ground, or else a tree will grow and lift up the whole freaking side porch and entryway, and this tree will eventually grow. So I've got to get around to doing that. But I'm gonna go over to the trees actually that I do want growing, the ones that I've grown, and some are not growing and some are dead, but 3 of them are still growing, and they're doing great. And here comes my wife, and she's gonna wonder what I'm doing. My wife and my son. I stood home today. I was really not up for the journey to go to work today. I mean, I was tired. I've been killing myself. So here are 2 trees that are not growing. Both of these, they're not gonna grow any taller. I'm gonna uproot them and plant some instead. But this one is thriving. Look at that, it's still got a little dead area. I have to cut that out. And this one is thriving. These are 2 Leland cypresses. And this is Nellie Holly, Nelson Holly Nellie. But look at it, it's tremendous. Look at, now one side is not growing branches, but I'm thinking that they will grow, but I've fed them, I've mulched them. And it was 3 feet tall, and look at how tall it is. It's taller than me, so it's about 8 feet tall right now. And these grow as far as 10 or 12 feet. And these are the 2 dead ones. So I'm gonna uproot those 2. And so double standards. There is lots of double standards in the XJW community. You can criticize the Watchtower Society, but if you see the sign of one of our own actually repeating the same cultic errors of the Watchtower Society. How dare you? How dare you? And if they develop a following, you know what? People can't even see the signals that it's happening all over again. I'm going across the road, throwing this branch here. They can't see the signals. They can't see that they are enabling the origins and beginnings of a new cult, because cults start out with charismatic folks that everyone likes. And I believe in absolute free speech. I believe in the free speech of the Jehovah's Witnesses to preach their teachings. I mean, they have the right. As long as people are willing to listen to their crap, there are always people willing to listen to crap. People, I'll tell you, religious cults are like people at restaurants. People will eat crap on a stick if it's popular. They will think it's yummy. It's like an episode of SpongeBob, and you had Plankton, and he had chum on a stick, and they were lining up for the chum on a stick. For those of you who have children, you know the episode, and those of you who watch SpongeBob, I have kids, so I watch SpongeBob with my kids. Well, I have watched SpongeBob with my kids. This is our little shed. Anyway, people have a propensity to not think about the words coming out of people's mouths. And they will buy if it sounds fancy. It's like a fancy car with a bad engine. People can't tell what kind of car they're buying from the outside. It looks nice, but that sucker, when you pull it off the auto lot, in a couple months, you're gonna have some serious problems because the engine's bad, or maybe the transmission is rusted over. And people have no discernible powers. They have no abilities or powers of discernment, especially when they come out of the cults. They think that they're free because they came out of the cults. And freedom is not just coming out of a cult. Freedom is actually being able to come out of a cult and have the powers of discernment to never fall for another cult again. Even if your best friend is the cult leader, you'll know. You'll be able to see it. And Mike and Kim, whom I've made quite a number of videos, and now all of a sudden people are starting to notice what I've made, because I think the last couple of videos have really proven, as far as content is concerned, in your face evidence. It's like we've got pictures of naked Trump. If they had pictures of naked Trump, boy, he'd be in a heap of trouble. And so I had pictures of naked Trump, but it wasn't naked Trump. It was Mike and Kim, red-handed, naked, pushing Freemasonic, Luciferian teachings from a guy who claims to have spoken to aliens. And I understand there's an audience for that kind of crazy stuff. And I know that some Mike and Kim people, and I call them Mike and Kim people, Mike and Kim devotees. I encountered one lady on Facebook who's a Mike and Kim devotee, and just like Mike and Kim, anti-Christianity, Christian, anything but Christianity. Christianity is, that's all that you know. It's just hatred, absolute hatred for Christians and Christianity and their Christ. And she sent me a video, and she wanted me to get my thoughts on it. But it was really just it was a dig at Christianity from another crazy source, just like the Mike and Kim sources. I gotta tell you, it was crazy. It was out there. So there's a guy that she sent me a video of who was saying why there is such a pedophilia problem in Christianity. And actually, there's a pedophilia problem in not just Christianity. It's in the school system. It's in cults. It's in every fabric of our society. I mean, you have Hollywood. Hollywood has a serious pedophile problem. And you have political leaders. Come on, people. Weinstein has, I mean, it's out of the news now. But you had the Harvey Weinstein and all these lists of political leaders, and he winded up conveniently dead. And because political leaders, he has a list of leaders that no one, and it's not even in the news anymore, that no one can get. Because if we knew how many pedophiles are out here that are leading these countries, these nations, these states, these mayors, these presidents, then we'd really see the bigger picture, wouldn't we? We'd see how nasty people are, that the world around us is filled with sin and nastiness, and that nastiness and that sinfulness goes everywhere, even within the Christian church. But it's not because of Christianity, it's because of humanity. We are prone to love what is bad. We love sin. We hate violence, and yet if we see a fight on the street, we're the first one to peep around the corner. We say that we hate sinful things or illegal things, but in our heart of hearts, we all have skeletons in the closet of things that we are ashamed of or embarrassed about, that if people knew, they wouldn't trust us. And so this goes back to the video that was sent to me to prove that Christianity is the cause of pedophile problems. It's the mecca of pedophilia. It was a guy who claimed to have been a Christian, and he was looking up Greek words in the Gospels, and he was saying that when the Holy Spirit came upon, by Gabriel's edict, would come upon Mary, that it would be a type of divine or supernatural rape. Believe me, there's incidents, there's succubus and incubuses that do rape. That's the whole story of the giants came from the Nephilim, the Anunnaki in the Old Testament that were raping women. They were giants that they created because they raped these women that became pregnant. Supernatural beings tied with natural humans that created beings which were giants. They were huge, they're tremendous, and they brought violence into the world. Well, this is what, 19 minutes, it's a little long, but this is my lengthy version video. So what we have here is this person sent to prove to me that Christianity is absolutely evil incarnate. Let me tell you something. Pedophiles exist in churches. They exist in our schools. They exist on camera. They exist in politics. And it's not because Christianity is the culprit or religion is the reason why pedophiles are so bad in the world. It's because people are no good, because the Bible says in Romans chapter 3 that there is nothing good in us, that no one is good, not a single one, that we love to lie, we're prone to hate God. And that's why so many ex-witnesses hate God. And it ain't because of the cult they came out of. They hate their cult. But in many ways, it's not just the cult that their hatred is directed to. The cult represents God to them still. And so they hate God, and so they have this absolute insane obsession with hating the Jehovah's Witnesses, and they can't move on with their lives. You know, you never see my wife, not much, on camera, because she's moved on. She doesn't need to be on social media, neither do I. I have a great family. I have a great life outside of making these videos. But for 20 years, 22 years, I've devoted myself to ministry, not just to ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, but to people in the cults. There's the Mormons, and there's so many cults. There's over 3,000 cults in America every year popping up. And Kim and Mikey are only maybe the 2,999th one. But they have a following, and the kind of people that follow them push the same kind of crazy dumpster diving junk. And this guy says a bunch of false information, lies that I knew were lies right off the jump. First of all, he was selective. Greek words have variants, and he just picked one that really fit his narrative. Secondly, then he tried to say that maybe Gabriel was the one that raped Mary, and that Gabriel was a lizard. He was a lizard, alien lizard. And then I knew this guy was on a lunchbox, and unfortunately, we have lots of lunchboxes out here. You know, I mean, you think the stories of the Bible are ludicrous, and then you got people like him saying Mary was raped by a big giant lizard, and Gabriel, the angels, are big giant lizards. All because of wordplay or associations on the tabernacle, all kinds of stuff. It's just crazy. And then they're UFOs, they're aliens. I mean, how is that any crazier than what's in the Bible? And yet we won't accept what's in the Bible. But we'll talk. There are lizard people out in the world that are aliens from another planet that are occupying our political statesmen. And that it's like, Roddy Piper was in that movie, Them, or That, or whatever, and that you couldn't see the lizard people or the aliens without the special glasses. I mean, that's the kind of crazy fantasy sci-fi stuff that this guy was pushing. And that Mary was raped by an alien lizard who was probably Gabriel, and she was raped because the word that he selected, the variant in the Greek, was, to take by force. And then the other thing. Oh, here's the other thing. This really is the clue that Christianity is just filled with pedophiles, and it's all Christianity's fault. Was that he purposely tried to age Mary between 9 and 11, and that's an absolute lie. Mary was aged between 14 and 16. 14 on the younger side, 16 on the older side, which was the custom then, and he tried to say she wasn't ovulating, so, it's said that she was married between 14 and 16, not 9 and 11. It's